This is an example of a sample sheet. There are 6 sample sheets included with every sample collection kit. It is your responsibility to include a completed sample sheet for every sample sent to the lab. The only exception is if you have submitted a pre-log online through the Nutbow system. Only 1 fecal sample per sample sheet, please. Nutbow does not provide accurate results for nursing animals. Please do not provide samples for animals under 6 months of age. The client box should be filled out with the contact information for the person the GAN Lab can contact with questions and who will receive the lab results and the bill. If you are a client, as opposed to an NRCS agent or technical advisor, please be sure to include your name, address, and multiple methods of contacting you, as well as your preferred method of contact. The ranch box should be filled out with information about the ranch the samples come from. This information is used to file and store sample results, so be sure to fill it out consistently with each future sample. For instance, if you have labeled your ranch as Blue Valley Farm, do not label a future sample as BVF. This makes it difficult for the lab to retrieve data for your ranch and to file future results. In the date collected box, write the date the fecal sample was collected. This date is extremely important because the lab will use external data such as weather reports based on the date to get the most accurate results. If you wish to have the GAN Lab send results via email to a third-party entity such as an NRCS agent or technical advisor, put their contact information in this box. In the program box, specify what program you are a part of, such as conservation stewardship or education. If you are part of a program not listed here, select Other. If you are not part of a program, select None. In the Select Service box, please select either Standard or Advisory Service. If you choose Advisory Service, the GAN Lab will provide you with additional information about feeding recommendations and management options. The GAN Lab charges an extra fee for advisory service, which is listed on the sample sheet. If you don't indicate either choice, standard service will be selected. Make sure the information you include is adequate for the test you wish to receive. The animal attributes section is where you will enter information about the herd the sample was taken from. If the herd is comprised of more than one breed, gender, or age group, you should give information about each grouping in a different profile column. For example, the information in a profile column might refer to the group castrated Angus cattle or female Hereford cattle. The age for each group should span no more than 12 months. Remember, you should only list 1 sample per sample sheet, but a sample may represent several animal profile groups. Choose a herd ID to represent each animal profile group in the herd. Choose a name that is meaningful to you and that you will remember. Make sure to include the same herd ID on the sample bag. In the species box, write the species of animals the samples come from. The most common species of animals the GAN Lab will test are cattle, goats, sheep, horses, deer, and elk. Remember, we only test grazing animals. In the gender box, write the gender of the animals the sample comes from. If the herd is comprised of several different genders, separate each gender into its own profile. In the breed box, write the breed of the animals the sample comes from. If the herd is comprised of several different breeds, separate each breed into its own profile. In the number of head box, write the number of animals in each animal profile group. Do not include animals that are under 6 months or are nursing, as Nutbow cannot process them. In the average age box, write the average age of the animals in each animal profile group. Remember that mature and immature animals should be listed in separate profiles. In the optional breed information section, you may choose to put the percentage of each cattle breed in each animal profile group. The 4 percentages should add up to 100%. The current condition section is where you'll enter information about the average condition of the animals in the herd that the sample was taken from. In the spayed castrated row, indicate whether or not each animal profile group is composed of spayed or castrated animals. Remember that intact animals should be listed in separate profiles from altered animals. In the body condition score box, list your best guess of the average weight quality of your herd. We recommend that you use the BCS 1 to 9 system. Use this chart to determine where your animals lie on the spectrum. On this scale, a BCS of 4 to 6 is considered a healthy weight. In the weight box, put the current approximate weight of the average animal being tested. If animals in the herd are lactating and have on average been lactating for more than 40 days, write the average number of days lactating in the days lactating box. Keep in mind that animals that have been lactating for more than 40 days need to be listed in a separate animal profile group from those that have not. If animals in the herd have been lactating for less than 40 days on average, they can be listed in the same profiles as non-lactating animals, and you can list the average days lactating in the comments box. If animals in the herd are pregnant, put the average number of days since breeding occurred in the days pregnant box. Remember that pregnant animals must be in a separate animal profile group from non-pregnant animals. Keep in mind that days lactating and days pregnant should never be the same number. In the desired average daily gain box, record how much weight in pounds you want the animals in each animal profile group to gain per day. If there is an implant being used on an animal, specify that in the implant box. Remember that animals with implants should have a separate profile from animals without implants. In the internal and external parasite load boxes, estimate the value of parasite loads at the time of the sample as low, medium, or high. The pasture section is where you will enter information about the pasture the herd has been grazing from. Choose a pasture name that is meaningful to you and that you will remember. Make sure to include the same pasture name on the sample bag. In the size box, write the size in acres of the pasture the animals have been grazing in. The percent of forage allowed to be depleted box should usually be left at the default 60%. If there is a specific goal for pasture utilization or a concern relating to forage availability, this number can be adjusted as you see fit. In the predominant forage type box, write the type of forage in the majority of your pasture. There are three options for predominant forage type: improved, native grasses, and annual grain. Improved refers to pastures that have had measures taken to improve their quality, such as overseeding or fertilizing. Native grasses refer to pastures with native range. You can choose to specify the type of grass, tall, intermediate, or short if you wish. Annual grain refers to crops such as wheat or rye. Choose the option that best fits and write it in the box. Indicate in this box whether the pasture is adequately or poorly watered. In the slope box, indicate the level of slope of the pasture. If your pasture is flat or has rolling hills, indicate a slope of less than 15 degrees. If your pasture contains steep slopes, canyons, or mountains, indicate a slope greater than 15 degrees. In the pasture growth rate box, indicate the average level of growth of the pasture, low, medium, or high. If you are feeding an ionophore, please specify here. In the days and grazing period box, list the average number of days herds are allowed to graze in this pasture. The percent unrestricted grazing box is intended for situations where animals are penned or moved from a pasture to a pen for the night, or cases where animals are allowed to graze in an area for less than 24 hours before being moved. This is not a very common scenario, but is available if the need should arise. Otherwise, indicate 100%. The feeds used section is where you will enter information about what the herd is being fed supplementary to their grazing. Please include feed tags with your sample sheet if possible. Only feeds with a crude protein value need to be included in this section. Check the container the feed was sold in for feed type, percent crude protein, percent totable digestible nutrients, and cost per ton. Be sure to include information about the amount and frequency of feedings. If you are requesting an advisory, the feed mitigation section is where you can enter information about feeds you will be willing to increase or decrease in amount fed so that Nutbow can determine the best combination of feeds to reach your desired weight gain. In the min and max amount fed boxes, you can write the minimum and maximum amount of feed you would consider using for up to 2 feeds. If there is anything else you want the lab to know, mention it in the comment box. If your animals are repeatedly outperforming the reports, you can call the GAN lab and provide some additional optional information such as peak milk yield, lactation duration, peak milk days, gestation period, or offspring birth weight. Congratulations! You have finished the tutorial. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to call or email the GAN lab. Thank you.